I'm MJ. And I'm AJ. Picture this. It's 438 BCE. On a massive hill above Athens, the Greeks just finished building a temple to a goddess. But here's the catch. They explicitly knew she was not inherently good. Her name was Athena Parthenos. The statue inside was 12 meters of gold and ivory. It stood inside a temple that took 9 grueling years to build and would stand for 9 centuries. She was the patron of their city, but she had also ordered the death of half the heroes in their stories. The Greeks knew this, but they built her temple anyway. Wait, MJ, they knew their goddess wasn't good? Why build a temple for a goddess who isn't good? Why did the most rational civilization in human history spend 9 years building a literal monument for a problematic and deadly deity? If you can answer that, you understand everything. You understand why a society that invented democracy and tragedy worshipped a family of absolute cheaters and liars for 1,000 years. The core of it all is this. The Greeks did not worship gods who were better than them. They worshipped gods who were exactly as flawed as they were. Because that was the only honest theology a civilization that invented the scientific method could actually believe in. But what did their religion actually look like on the ground? Was it anything like modern faiths with a central moral book?
No, not at all. There was no central moral book. No priest telling you how to live your life. Religion was a barbecue. It was a purely transactional sacrifice. You walked up to a stone altar. You killed a goat. You burned the bones and the fat for the god. The gods got the smoke. People got dinner. That was the whole relationship.
And to understand the sheer dysfunction of that system, you have to start at the very top. Zeus, king of Olympus, lord of the sky. According to Hesiod, he had 57 named lovers. 57. Goddesses, mortal women, even the wives of his own brothers. When he wanted Europa, he turned himself into a bull. For Leda, a swan. For Danae, he descended as literal golden rain through her bedroom window. His behavior was a complete disaster. Wow. Okay, so the king of the gods is a serial cheater. What does his wife Hera do about all this? Well, instead of acting holy, the queen of heaven is ruthlessly vindictive. She relentlessly torments his mistresses. She drives his illegitimate children completely mad. I mean, she drove Heracles so crazy he killed his own family. The Greeks knew she was an incredibly angry, vengeful spouse, but they worshipped her anyway. Wait, MJ, so what you're saying is the king is a cheater and the queen is taking brutal revenge on his kids? This sounds way more like reality television than a functional religion. You hit the nail right on the head. It is not a modern religion. It is a soap opera, and that is precisely the point. The dysfunction goes even deeper. Take Hephaestus, the disabled god of the forge. His backstory is just shocking. His own mother, Hera, threw him off Mount Olympus. She gave birth to him, decided he was ugly, and literally tossed him off a mountain. He fell for an entire day, landed on the island of Lemnos, and broke both of his legs. No way. That is absolutely heartbreaking. His own mother threw him away just because of his looks?
Yeah. He became the only physically disabled major god in any pantheon. But Greek artisans worshipped Hephaestus intensely, especially in Athens, because they recognized their own struggles in him. They saw their resilience in the god who got dealt a very bad hand, but just picked up his hammer and kept working at his forge.
But his struggles did not end there. Hephaestus was married to Aphrodite, the goddess of love. But she was openly cheating on him with Ares, the god of war. So, Hephaestus forged an invisible bronze net. He suspended it above their bed and caught them right in act. He then called every single other god on Olympus to come down and witness the betrayal. He wanted ultimate revenge. And here is the divine response. I am quoting Homer directly from the Odyssey. Unquenchable laughter rose up among the blessed gods. The highest court of divine justice came in, looked at the trapped, naked couple, and they simply laughed.
Seriously? They just laughed at him? That completely shatters all my modern expectations of divine justice.
So, if these gods cheat, laugh at betrayal, and abuse their own children, what purpose do they actually serve? Why would desperate mortals ever pray to them? To answer that, we look at a stunning reversal from the Iliad. The Greek hero Diomedes is fighting on the battlefield at Troy. He literally charges at Aphrodite and stabs her in the wrist. Homer writes that the immortal blood of the goddess flowed. A mortal physically wounded a goddess. She dropped her son, ran back to Mount Olympus, and literally cried to her mother. Wait, a human stabbed a god? And she actually bled and ran home crying? How is that even possible? Because we completely misunderstand their word for God. The Greek word is theos. It does not mean all-powerful. It does not mean all-knowing. It just means one who has more power than us. Divine authority was very real, but it was not absolute. The gods could lose fights, they could be tricked, they could bleed. This comparison breaks the modern frame entirely. For the Greeks, the gods are not the moral compass of the universe. They are the weather inside it. You do not sacrifice to them because they will reward your virtue. They absolutely will not. You sacrifice to them because you want them on your side when the storm comes, because the storm always comes. Why does this still matter today? And how did a religion built on unpredictable, unreliable, and physically vulnerable weather gods sustain a highly rational society for a whole millennium? It lasted precisely because it was deeply honest. The Greeks looked around at the chaotic reality of human existence. They saw diseases, brutal wars, and just absolute unfairness. They did not expect the universe to be fair or moral, so they worshipped a pantheon that perfectly matched that brutal reality. It was a completely adult religion. It did not offer false comfort. It offered a true reflection of a very messy world. That is incredibly stark, but it makes perfect sense now. So what happens when all these chaotic weather gods are actually in the same room together?
That is our loop question for next time. In our next explainer, we will cover the 12 Olympians. We won't look at them as abstract forces. We will look at them as a messy, extended family. Sibling marriages, shared custody battles, bizarre births, the most dysfunctional dinner table in human history. By the end of it, you will recognize these deities as your own relatives. See you then.